Hi all, welcome to another lecture for Module 5 Android Programming for the subject EC312 Object Oriented Programming. So, in this lecture, we are going to look at different Android components, of which one of the component is called as activity. So, in Android, there are certain components which, when put together, will help you to develop the Android application. So components are the essential building blocks of an Android app. Just like in Java or CPP, we have classes, objects, and when we put together all of this, we'll be able to write a complete program. In Android application, the components helps us to write the Android application. These components are bundled together. These components can be used to pass messages between each of them, which will help us in developing the corresponding Android application. So each component is an entry point through which the system or a user can enter your application. When you click on Android application, you see the application pops up in a new window. That's called as an user interface, and that user interface itself is a component called as an activity. And when you interact with that activity, or when you interact with that user interface, in the background the user interface interacts with different services and broadcast receivers, content providers, etc., to give you your desired output. So there are basically 4 different types of app components: activities, services, broadcast receivers, content providers. So in each lecture we will be looking at each of these components. Each type serves a distinct purpose and has a distinct life cycle that defines how the component is created and destroyed. So each of these components has a life cycle. Life cycle means you can create the component will pass through different states like running state, pause, stop, and then it get destroyed. All these components are loosely coupled by application manifest file, which is android manifest.xml. This file describes each component of the application and how they interact. So android manifest.xml file is the most important file in Android, which describes each of these components and how these components are going to interact within themselves and between each other. It also gives the Android operating system an idea of what are the components that you are going to design in the application. So in this lecture we will be talking much of the component called as activity, and activity is the single most common type of Android component, and it is the heart of all Android applications. It is the window which the user interacts with the app. So when you click an application, the application comes into foreground, it opens a window. That window is called as an activity. So an application can have activity, service, broadcast receiver, content providers, along with Android runtime and Linux processes. So let's see some examples of an activity. So as it describes, an activity defines a user-facing operation that displays on device screen. So this is a mobile in which there is a home screen. An activity is, for example, if you open the Dropbox, you see there is an field to give the email ID, there is a field to give the password. So this is one type of activity where you can give the email and password and login. Let's look at another example where you are reading an email. So this is actually for by sending, but let's say when you are reading an email, the screen looks entirely different that of when you are logging into Dropbox. So when you're reading the email, you have the email address, subject, content of the email, etc. on the screen, which is different from in logging Dropbox, where you have to give the email ID and password and login. This is another type of activity where you are composing an email message. Composing the screen for email message is different from that of reading an email message. So when you're composing the screen, you have an editable fields of to, subject and compose mail. But while you are sending an email message, your screen is totally different, where you don't have these fields as editable. So this is another type of activity. So all these are different activities. Similarly, when you are viewing a contact, now if you compare this with other three of them, this is entirely different. So this is a different activity where your contact name is there, phone number, email address, etc., etc. Browsing the internet. When you open the browser, now again this is a different activity where you can click on any of the link, go to that link, you can scroll down the page, you can type the web address, etc. So this is a different activity. Now let's say another activity where you want to download an image from any particular website. So you can, in this app, this is an activity in which you can type the website or the complete path of the image, click the download button, it will get downloaded. Now this is a gallery application in which when you click the downloaded image, it will show up the image. This is an Android robot, and you can see that this has totally entirely different user interface with that of the other activities that we have mentioned. So this is a different type of activity. So let's look at, so we in this activities we show that each of these different applications have individual activities. Now is it possible that the same application can have different activities? So let's look at this example. So let's see a application in which you can write the address in the text field provided by the application. When you click the tick mark, the application will go to a new screen in which it shows the map and the location of the address. So this is one application. So the first activity is the screen in which you want to type the address. So this activity will help you to input the address of the location for which you want to see in the map. And when you click tick mark, it will go to another user interface where it will show the application, show the map and the location of the typed address. So these two are two different activities, but it is for the same application. Let's look at three different activities for a single application. Assume that the application is like this, that it will ask the user to give a contact, and when the user gives the contact, the address mentioned in the contact will be displayed in the map and the location. So here the first activity is this one, where you have a plus sign, you click the plus sign. The second activity will comes into picture, and you see it needs to choose a contact. When you choose the contact, it will go to a third activity where it will show in the map the location of the contact. So these are different types of activities in the same application. So you can have any number of activities in a single application. So you should know what is an activity is. Basically that is the user interface in which you are going to interact with the application or the Android operating system. So here there is another application where you have three activities. So here what you are going to do is you are going to download an image. You type the path of the image in the activity or in the application. You press the download button. The downloading activity will be shown, and then it will open the gallery and open the image that you have downloaded. So the first activity is the screen or the interface in which you are typing the URL for the image. Second activity is where you have downloaded it is showing that the image is being downloaded. In the third activity, the application will open the gallery application which will show the image. So there is a third activity. So these are three different activities. Now these activities should all be mentioned in the activity Android manifest.xml file. So Android manifest.xml file is the most important file for Android app, which describes that the essential information about your application to the Android build tools, Android operating system and Google Play. So Android build tools, operating system and Google Play comes to know about what are all the activities that you have defined in your application through the android.xml file. So this is the android.xml file for download image viewer that we just saw previously, and you need to declare each of this activity in the android.xml file. So the first few lines we have seen in the previous lecture. In the next line, you have an activity tag. Inside the activity tag, you say what the activity is. So this is your main activity where you are going to enter the URL. So you say the activities.main activity. Now you can give any name for the activity. Currently it is given as main activity, and you say there's a label for the application that you give. You can give many other fields inside this. There is another activity for downloading which shows the downloading screen. So this is given as an activity in a separate field. So these activities should be mentioned in the android.xml file. Now each of this activity is basically a graphical user interface or GUI, and the activities will have some buttons or text fields or any kind of user interactive components. So these are all described in an XML file that we have seen also in the last lecture. So here in this XML file, for example, you have a text to be typed. There is a field called as text view. There is a text is typed on the application. So there is called as a text view where you are viewing the text. You can edit the text, and in that text view, you say what is the text to be typed. So this is please touch the floating button to add an address. Similarly, there is an edit text view, which is basically this one where you can edit the text. There is an image button. So there is a download button here. So that is what the size, height, where should be positioned, what should be the color, etc. will be mentioned in this one. And we can also say what's the layout, like where you should position each of these fields, text view, edit text view. If there is another button here where you want to position, etc., is there in the layout. So all these components where you are using to interact with the app has a corresponding XML file in which you will describe all the necessary details to the application. So here you can also describe some of how the application should run in a code in Java in the corresponding activity. So this is the corresponding Android or Java code. When you start the activity, what all things you should look at. So basically it will create a thread and it will run the thread, and it will post different messages depending on what the activity is doing, and it will finish. So you can do this metadata either in the XML file or in the program code. So each of this activity has something called as a life cycle. That means each of the activity will go through different states, and different functions will be called for this activity depending on the state it is within, and it will end once you click the exit button. So activity life cycle means as the user navigates through, out and back to your app, the activity instances in your app transition through different states in the life cycle. For example, let's say when you boot up your Android device, it will be the application will be going into the starting state. When you click the application, it will give you the window, it will be going to running state. And let's say when you press the back button or when you click another application, your current application will be going into paused and then to stop state. When you click the exit button, then it will be destroyed, or when the Android operating system wants to destroy it, it will get destroyed. So activity provides a number of callbacks that allow the activity to know that a state has changed. So this all are states are being transitioned in the Android operating system. So the activity should know what is the state for each of them, and it is through something called as a callback function. So whenever you go from starting to running state, the activity manager module in the application framework will call the different functions called as callback functions, which are on create, on start, on resume, etc. Similarly, when it goes from running to pause, it will call the callback function on pause. When it goes from pause to stop, it will call the callback function on stop. And similarly, when you transition from one state to another, it will call different functions to let the application know that this states has been changed. So transition between each states are associated with various hook methods. Hook methods means which are the callback functions. So let's look at the different states. The first state is obviously the starting state. So when you boot up the Android device, all the application will be coming up and all the states will be in the starting state. So when you are going to starting state, the application will be called with the function start activity. Once you are in starting state and then you click the Android application, the user clicks the Android application, it will be going into running state. When you are in running state, the application will be visible to you and it has the focus. Focus means that is a single mouse application in the foreground. And let's say you press the back button, or let's say you have some sharing option in your application. When you click the sharing option, it will have a small window at the bottom which shows the different sharing options like mail, WhatsApp, etc. Now, although the application is running and it is visible to you, now it is out of focus because the focus is now on the list of sharing applications. Then the application is said to be in the pause state. In the pause state, it is visible but does not have focus and can be terminated. When you are in the pause state, the Android operating system will call the on pause method. Now, when you press the back button, let's say you give the shared option, and you press the back button, then the application will not be visible. It will go into the background and it will not have any focus and it can be terminated. So even if you press the back button, or even if you open another application without exiting the current application, then the current application will go into the background and it will lose its focus and it will not be visible, but it will be still running in the background. Now when you decide let's exit the app, so let's say voluntarily finish or involuntarily killed by the system. Sometimes if the memory is low, the application might be killed by the system, or else if there is an exit button in your application, if you click the exit button, the application will be killed or destroyed. So in all these cases, the application, different functions of the application will be called. So let's see how the different functions of the application is called. So this is the flow of calling of different callbacks for the Android lifecycle. The first and foremost is on create. So when you are going from starting state to running state, it will call the on create function, it will initialize an activity when it is first created. So when you create the activity, the onCreate function, the callback function will be called to initialize the activity. It will initialize global activity states, configures, caches, you will use as needed. And it will also sets the activities content view. Content view means what activity should be shown and what all things should be shown inside the activity will be set by the onCreate state. Now let's say the user clicks the application. When the user clicks the application, it will go to on start state. So in the the Android operating system will call the on start callback. When the on start is called, the activity will become visible to the user. That it will be coming in the foreground and you can see the application. So this typically resets app state and behavior and loads data from persistent storage. So when the application is started, now the application needs some data to continue, then it can load the data from the storage. It will go to the resume state. So let's say the user start typing on the application or user clicks a button, then it will go to the resume state, because till that time it is still in the starting on start. It has still called only on start and the user has not interacted with the application. When the user starts interacting with the application, the on resume callback function will be called, and usually it is typically starts foreground on only behaviors, like if the application needs to show some animations on the application screen, and it will be started. Then the activity will start running. Now as I said earlier, let's say you click a sharing button in the application. Now when you click the sharing button in the application, it will pop up some of the Gmails or WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. for sharing. So the activity will now will be visible, but the focus will go into the sharing button. So during that time, the activity is now in the pause state. So when it is in the pause state, the on pause callback will be called. So that is when user leaves an activity that is still visible in the background. So this is used to perform important cleanup operations. Cleanup operations means operations which are the type of operations which is used to clean many things, like release unwanted memory, delete some threads which are not running, etc. So, and example, committing the unsaved state, etc., etc. Now let's say the user presses the back button. So when user presses the back button, the on stop callback will be called. So in on stop callback, callback is called when the system goes to, or the application goes to, the stop state. So when you press the back button, then the activity will move into the background, or when you click another application, then the current application will go into the background and the application will be in the stop state. So during this time, the application will not be visible, and this is usually used to perform the non-essential operations like caches the state, etc., etc. Now in the stop state, either when another app comes with higher priority and you need a memory, the current app will be killed, and when the user presses the application label or application icon again, it will go to the onCreate state. Similarly, once the application goes into the background, user can still scroll and put the application in the foreground. In that case, the on start callback will be called, and then it will call the start callback. So all these loops can be also come into picture. So when on restart is called, the activity comes to the foreground after being stopped and typically reads the cache state. Now let's say from on stop the user has pressed the exit button, or let's say the Android has killed the application because of some unknown reasons, and then the on destroy callback function will be called. The state of the application will be destroyed, and the activity will shut down. So these are the different callback functions used in different states of the activity lifecycle. So this is basically the flowchart of how the callback functions are called. Now let us see in the Android application, in Android Studio, how these callbacks are called by just putting a log message in all these callback functions. So that will help you understand how what is the flow of these callback functions. So this is our Android Studio. This is the Hello World application. This is the same application that we have demonstrated in the last lecture. So in this application, in the main activity.java file, I am going to give the callback function. So the callback function should be always be written in the application. The Android operating system will call you these callback functions whenever it is changing the state. The activity manager in the application framework is the one which calls these functions. So let me write so I have defined a string called as main activity. So I'm going to write all these callback functions here. So first callback function I write as onStart, and then I'll say I call the super class or super method of this onStart, the class, the method which is defined in the base class. Then I'll give a log. So this log can be of any type. It can be a debug, assert, error, info, verbose, etc. So each of this log will be listed in the console or the log cat whenever this function is executed. So let's say I go as info and I say tag, which is basically the string here, and I say executed onStart. So if this function is executed, this much line will be printed in the log. So just to make sure on create is also called, I am going to write the same line but with executed on create in the create function. So I want to define other callbacks also. So this is for starting callback. Let's say for resume, I give resume callback, and I call the on resume in the super class, and I say okay, just executed the resume. Then I have pause callback, so I say I define the pause callback. Then I say call the pause callback in the super method, super class. Then I say pause has executed. I call stop callback. Then I say the on stop of the super class is called. I'll say I have executed the stop callback, and at the last I'll say I have destroy callback, which we might not be able to show because currently it doesn't have a exit button. So I'll call anyway. I'll put this in the code, destroy, and maybe I'll also put the restart. So I say restart, and I'll call the corresponding method in restart of the super class. Even this might also be called. Okay, so now we are going to run the AVD manager and we will see how this application is going. So I can click the run button here. It will take some time to give you the mobile version. Oh, sorry, the AVD manager is already running. So it will take some time to pop up the corresponding mobile. So we'll wait and we'll see. So you can see that the AVD manager is up. It has shown the mobile. So when it's shown itself, you see that these messages are displayed here. It executed on create, and then let's see what happens when I click the app. So here is the app. So when I click the app, you see that it has executed on create, started the app on start, and it has resumed the app. So basically it has gone into on create function, on start function, and on resume function. Now let's say I press the back button. So when I press the back button, it went to the pause state, calling the on pause callback. It went to the on stop state, and it went to the on destroy state, because here in this application the back button is the exit button. So when click the exit button, it will go to the background, it will go to the pause state, then it will go to the stop state by calling on stop, and it will destroy itself by on destroy. So if you look, let's look at once again. Here click on, click the application. It created the application by going into starting state on create, then it called the on start and on resume callbacks, so that now currently it is in the starting state. Now when I click the back button, it went into the pause state, and then to stop, and then to destroy. So this is how the complete activity life cycle of the Android application, and in each of these states it will call the corresponding callback function, which is from on start to on destroy. So I hope this has made you understand the callbacks and the corresponding states of an activity life cycle much better. Thank you.